We'll call the regular meeting of the Upshur County Commission to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll have the reading of the minutes of the March 14th, 2013 Upshur County Commission meeting.
The County Commission of Upshur County, West Virginia held their regular meeting at the Courthouse Annex on Thursday, March 14, 2013 at 9 a.m. Donnie Taney called the meeting to order. There were present Donnie Taney Commissioner, J.C. Rafferty Commissioner, Troy Brady Commissioner, William Parker County Administrator, Megan Pomeroy Assistant County Administrator, and Jacqueline Dinklocker Secretary. The meeting began with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All motions passed unanimously unless otherwise stated. Gary Rapking and Craig Presar, West Virginia University Extension Service representatives, appeared before the Commission and provided a review/update of the Extension Service programs in Upshur County. Extension Service programs include 4-H and youth livestock programs, community educational outreach service, and farmers market, as well as a broad range of other educational, agricultural, and youth programs. Mr. Rapking requested funding and outlined the fiscal year 2013-2014 budget proposal, which the Commission will review and consider during budget meetings. Jody Akers and Renee Warner, Upshur County Board of Education representatives, appeared before the Commission and provided a review of the West Virginia Justice Assistant Grant Program application. The grant request in the amount of $28,000 will provide resources for funding the Prevention Resource Officer at the Buchanan Upshur Middle School. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the Commission approved and authorized the President to sign the grant application and related documents. Donnie Taney provided a review of the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy project priority listing and assignment of local priority points. After discussion on motion by J.C. Rafferty, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved the listing of the SEDS projects with priorities as submitted. William Parker provided a review of the rental agreement between Upshur County Commission, the Office of Emergency Management, and the West Virginia National Guard for the purpose of OEM training exercises. After discussion on motion by J.C. Rafferty, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized James Ferry and/or James Farrell to sign rental documents. William Parker was requested to follow up with insurance documentation. The Commission reviewed the following for your information items. Number 1, notice of public hearing, amendment to enhance 911 ordinances, 11 a.m. on Thursday, April 4, 2013, increased from current monthly fee of $2.65 to residential $4.50, business and Centrex $6.50. Number 2, correspondence from the Association of State Floodplain Managers certifying Terry Jo Bennett, Upshur County Floodplain Manager, as an ASFPM certified floodplain manager. Number 3, building permit report, February 2013. Number 4, dog warden report, March 2013. Number 5, West Virginia Regional Jail Authority, jail costs by county for fiscal year 2012. Number 6, Upshur County budget hearings as listed. Number 7, agendas, minutes, and/or notices of meetings as listed. Number 8, meetings as listed. Number 9, appointments needed or upcoming as listed. The Commission approved all invoices for payment. The Commission approved all vacation orders. The Commission approved the following settlements as listed. The Commission approved the following exonerations and/or refunds as listed. The Commission recessed at 11 a.m. The commission attended the meeting of the Upshur County Policy Board at 1 p.m. The commission attended the meeting of the Upshur County Department Supervisors at 2 p.m. The commission reconvened at 4 p.m. After reading of the minutes on motion by J.C. Rafferty, second by Troy Brady, the commission approved the regular meeting minutes of March 7, 2013 as submitted. With no further business, on motion by J.C. Rafferty, second by Troy Brady, the commission meeting adjourned at 4:15 p.m.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as read? If not, I'll ask for a motion they be approved as such.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jackie. And now we have representatives from the Upshur County Parish House for program review and request for funding. So whoever would like to step up.
We're actually we're representing Cross Lines,
Okay, we'll make that change here, cross lines.
but I can see where that mistake might come.
They're closely intertwined and related.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, as I was getting ready, I was thinking about the first time I appeared before you folks 2 years ago. And I was reflecting about how anxious I felt that morning, my first time coming before you, and not really knowing you and not knowing what to expect. And was asking myself this morning if I felt that same anxiousness and why I might have felt it then. And I realized that 2 years ago when I came before you for the first time in my first year as director at Parish House and Cross Lines, I was so passionate about what we did that I wanted to make sure that everybody knew what we did, and I was protective of our neighbors who came in, and I didn't want anything to happen to jeopardize what we do at Cross Lines. And as I reflected about that this morning and realized that no, I'm not anxious, the reason I think that I'm not anxious is because I am so confident that what we do in Upshur County makes a huge difference that I just felt like, okay, it's time to share that with you again and remind you that there are lots of our Upshur County natives, neighbors, who if we weren't there would have a hard time finding help when they need it. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that to say there aren't other places that give them help. But I say that to remind you that we're consistent, we're there, we're visible. And this year in particular, when we have experienced 2 disasters, if we weren't able to help them, we were able to send them to other places that could. And one of the reasons that we are here in this county is because this county is very generous. This county is generous through our churches, through our schools. This county is generous through individuals, and this county is generous because you guys support what we do. And we really appreciate that, and I just want to take a moment this morning to tell you that you are there present when Cross Lines is open 4 times a week because your financial support is huge. And I want to remind you that because Cross Lines operates out of the Upshur Parish House, that all the money that comes to us, to Cross Lines, gets distributed in our county. So none of what you give us goes toward the upkeep of the parish house or the administration of the program. It all goes to our Upshur County natives and neighbors. I don't know why I keep saying natives.
Native neighbors.
Yes, our native neighbors. Thank you, Donnie.
And transplants.
And transients.
I've included in your handout this morning just some facts and figures from Cross Lines from the last several years. And I gave this to you last year, so I'm not going to show you the differences in 5 years, but I want to point out some of the things that happened in 2012 that are important to note. You will notice that the cash payout, the bottom line, $106,373 that we paid out on behalf of our neighbors this past year in utility assistance, food packages, clothing vouchers, nights in motels, housing for deposits. You will notice that that figure is lower than the year before. So you might automatically think, aha, our neighbors are in better shape than they were the year before. But I have to tell you that payout every year represents the money we get in. And so we may have gotten a little bit more in 2011. What I can tell you is that if you read the balance sheet, we actually did take in quite a bit more, but we got a designated gift at the end of last year that was designated for us to use over the next 2 years for what we used to call Bonner vouchers, and they are $5 cards that can be used at our local grocery stores, IGA and Rock Cave, and Save a Lot here, that provides things that we cannot give out in the food pantry. So milk, eggs, things that we don't have.
Perishables primarily.
And that is a generous gift that came to us and is reflected in the total income from last year, but it was a gift that was designated to be used over the next 2 years. So that total balance cash payout does not necessarily reflect that our neighbors are in better shape than they were in 2011. It just kind of represents what we had to give out. Our total assists were down just a little bit, but what we noticed the increase in this year was the food packages, and you'll notice that our increase of that is a little over 300. We added 323 families this year, 323 families that we had not seen before, and we are in our 3rd decade of existence. So 323 families in our county found it important and necessary to come to us for help. And as we have examined what we have been able to do for these new families, we realized that they were direct results of the 2 disasters. We saw a lot of folks coming in after those 2 disasters because their power had been out, their food supply had been wiped out. And so folks who had never been to us before came to us to help with food emergencies that they had, because particularly in June we kept hearing that before that disaster, so many people had been able to stock up their freezer, and they lost it all. So that's one of the things that's reflected in the food packages that we handed out. Our utility assistance is down a little bit this year, but our housing assistance, if you will notice, is up significantly, $3,000. And that is assistance that we give to folks who are moving and they need help meeting that deposit. And some of those folks, many of those folks, were people who had found themselves unexpectedly homeless. So we work a lot with folks that are considered homeless, and the definition for homelessness, of course, and as I'm sure you have heard, is more encompassing than just sleeping under a bridge or sleeping in cars. Is if you don't have your name on a lease or a mortgage in 90 days, then you're considered homeless. So we see lots of households where there are doubled families and tripled families together and trying to make ends meet, but just aren't. So that housing increase came because we had more people coming to us for deposits, for help with deposits. And part of that was because Mountain Cap, previous to this year, had stimulus money that was designated for that, and that money ran out. So we didn't have that resource in the county. And so we picked up the deficit to the tune of about $3,000. We paid out more food for our food pantry this year because of the disasters that happened. And our community, our county, was extremely generous in donations this year of canned goods. We had group after group after group that did food drives for us. And sometimes it almost became embarrassing when people would say, "We know you're low on food," and they would bring in, and 4 other groups had come in right before them. But as soon as that food came in, it went out, particularly during November and December when we were seeing so many more neighbors than we normally do. So we average, also, I just want to remind you that through November and December, we do extra food for folks during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we distributed around 1,000 extra food packages. And I credit Salvation Army because they supported us in this, but I can tell you that the amount that we spent on that particular project was about $10,000. And that paid for basically the meat we handed out, the turkey at Thanksgiving, the ham at Christmas. We also had some generous donations of turkey from Rotary and from who I affectionately call the Turkey Guys, the Turkey Federation. And Walmart every year donates tons of canned goods to us, but we would not be able to supply that extra food if it weren't for the generosity of this county. On Christmas Day, we sponsored a community Christmas meal, and we cooked for, as you can see, over 400 people. We had people come into Chapel Hill where we served it, and we delivered food out in the county. So that's 400 extra meals that were distributed on Christmas Day. We averaged between 35 and 40 people on Monday and Friday for our community meal lunches. And we are fortunate that Hall House works with us and serves hot lunches the other days of the week. So at the Parish House or Hall House, Monday through Friday, you can find a hot meal. So if y'all need somewhere to go for lunch, we're always open to you. Because of the June and October disasters, we figured that we served around 750 meals for folks who stayed in the Red Cross shelters that had been set up. After the June derecho, before the Red Cross came to our community, we started cooking at Chapel Hill. We depleted our food pantry. We spent money because there were people who could not cook and could not eat. And many of these folks were the neighbors that we see on a regular basis. So we were able to do that. And then again in October, we kind of started cooking right at the same time the Red Cross entered the county, and again depleted our food pantry and purchased food, and we had a great time cooking for folks. But I figured that we served, between those two disasters, somewhere around 750 meals. So that's about all I have. I mean, I could go on all day, but I know you have other people to see because I'm coming back at 1:30 for Tri-County. But do you have any questions?
How many people volunteer through your service in the community to put on the good works that you do?
That's a really good question. It fluctuates, so at any one time I can't tell you. But we had a volunteer appreciation dinner in January, just as a Christmas gift to our volunteers, and we had somewhere around 50. I would say that any given time between Closed Closet, Hall House, Cross Lines, and the Parish House, we have between 50 and 60 people that volunteer.
Well, I think the ones that are aware of what you do are very appreciative of everything that the volunteers do, that the Parish House, the Cross Lines, the Upshur County citizens, and everybody that comes together to help those that are less fortunate than most of us are. And I saw an article in yesterday's paper. Senator Barnes was talking about the poverty in West Virginia. And I think that people need to be reminded that there's a lot of areas in West Virginia as well as in other countries, but right here at home we have people that are in poverty and children. If you look at, I forget the numbers on the free lunch programs.
60%.
60%.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks volumes about the economy in Upshur County. And we certainly appreciate what you all do and are glad to be a part of that.
Well, so many times, many folks in our society will look at the poor, the low income, and think they put themselves there. They've made bad decisions. They could get out and get a job if they wanted to. Many of the neighbors that we see regularly are people who have worked hard all their lives, and they receive Social Security based on minimum wage jobs, which is less than $1,000 a month. Many of the folks that we see have legitimate disabilities. The average disability check is less than $700 a month. We do see some folks who take advantage of the system. But I would say, and I think I say this every year, that percentage is very low compared to the people who really cannot break that cycle. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that everybody deserves to have food on the table and a roof over their heads. And in this country, electricity is pretty nice too. And so as long as there are people who are in that kind of condition, and as long as we are in a county that is generous as we are, the Parish House and Cross Lines will be in operation.
Well, there's a verse in the Bible. Since my dad was a Baptist preacher, I heard a lot of the Bible, and a lot of it was in disciplinary measures. But anyway, there's a verse where Jesus said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me.
Matthew 25.
And it said, well, when did that happen? He said, whenever you've done it to the least of one of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me. And I think that's probably your all's motive and your emphasis in what you do. And I think a lot of people do that because of that very fact that as Christians, that's our requirement and obligation, a task, a challenge that we're set forth to do. And I certainly appreciate what everyone does to help those that need lifted up.
And that very verse is in part why we call our clients not clients but neighbors.
Right.
They're not just clients to us, they are our neighbors. And it's amazing to me the stories of survival and resilience that these folks come in and tell us. They inspire me in a lot of ways. And I am fortunate that I was born to a family that could educate me. And I was fortunate to, I was not born in West Virginia, so I was fortunate to marry someone who was from West Virginia and to get here as soon as I could and to realize how generous this population is. We are all fortunate. And even our neighbors are fortunate because we live in such a generous county. So thank you once again for hearing us out, and we hope you will support us. Okay, I'll just say it. We hope you support us a little bit more than you did last year, but we'll take anything you give us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you ladies need to leave, feel free to leave, and if you'd like to stay and drink coffee, you're certainly welcome to do that.
I'd like to stay and drink coffee, but there are neighbors waiting.
And we do have tea as well.
Well, you ladies have a great day.
Didn't take
I'm serious
your
about
dad's.
you folks coming for
Your
lunch
dad's
sometime.
disciplinary measures
Have
didn't
good
take.
meals, Mondays and Fridays at the Fair.
Okay. We now have Mr. Gregory Blaine Harris, Director of Facilities Operation, concerning the purchase of a utility tractor. Good morning, Blaine.
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies. I'm here to talk to you about the compact utility tractor that we would like to, for you all to consider purchasing. Over the past couple years, the county facilities has changed. We now have the extension office not right here on this block. The 911 center is now, away from this building. And we need something that we can move snow with, a little more efficient. especially, this winter has not been real bad, but it's been hanging in there. The tractors that we have now are starting to get some age on them, and I think it would be a good time to update, and also with something that's more versatile. We can move snow with this compact tractor. We're going to get a bucket, hopefully, on the thing where we can move stone and dirt down the road. Hopefully, if we can foresee to do that, this tractor is capable of a backhoe, where we can dig ditches and whatever necessary for us to maintain the facilities. We also, in the other things that have changed over the last recent years, is the wellness park. Quite an area out there to mow and maintain, and I think it would be beneficial to the county facilities if we had a tractor of this capability. So that being said, do you all have questions?
Well, I think that, and you didn't mention the FEMA properties that we inherited from the federal government that we have a responsibility to maintain. The Pringle Tree Park, the up to high school. So most people probably don't realize how many areas that we do mow and maintain. And anybody that's operated equipment knows that you need equipment large enough in order to be efficient, not only efficient, but to treat your equipment properly. And when you have large areas, then you need something that can mow it faster. That just saves labor and everything else, but also you need equipment that's going to stand up on more extended mowing time than maybe we did a few years ago. So do you have some figures for us to take a look at?
Yes. Do you want to take a look at all these bids that I have here, or how do you want to work that?
Well, if you have copies of them, or we could pass them along. And
I don't have copies.
or if you need to talk about them first, and then we can take a look at them.
Well, I've gotten bids from several different places. L&T Farm Equipment, which sells the Massey Ferguson. I have a quote from them. Also, I've gotten quotes from two different Kubota manufacturers, or dealers, I should say, Burrs here in town. Also State Equipment out of Bridgeport. And I got a quote from for a John Deere, which is the closest John Deere dealer to our area, from Middletown Tractors in Fairmont. They're all fairly comparable in price. Most of the tractors that we've got are comparing apples to apples, horsepower wise, and the capability of what they can actually do. So if you all want to take a look at these, I don't have copies, but I'll give them to you and let you take a look at them.
Well, I think the most important thing, and you've already said that, is that we get comparable quotes, because I know in the past we've had problems where we haven't compared apples to apples. And then I would also say that we have at least 3 over the years that bought 3 or 4 different brands of tractors. So we've tried to buy from different brands of tractors, and some of it's personal preference, some of it is that some tractors are just better than others for different application purposes. So Willie, is there anything we need to do other than take a look at these? And
under the statutes, with the prices that you have, it's over $15,000, so it has to be a competitive bid situation, which this would meet that by comparing going out and soliciting bids from the different dealers. If I remember correctly, the one for the Massey Ferguson is a little less horsepower because of the size.
Because of the size of the tractor.
Of the
yes.
tractor and abilities. So I think they range from approximately 21, 22 up to 24,000 or a little bit more, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, between 21.5 and 20, just a little over 24.
With the smaller horsepower being the least.
lesser.
And then I think the John Deere, the Middletown tractor is the 20, just over the 24.
Yes.
And then the Kubota dealers are in there a little bit with state equipment being slightly less than Burr's.
Correct.
If I remember reviewing those. Talking to Mr. Harris, there's a couple of areas that he would like to explore since the prices are very comparable and close, is the ease of operation and changing implements. And he can explain that in more detail, but the John Deere is much easier for the staff to change the implements from one to the other, drop the mower, pick up the mower. So I think it would be his recommendation to proceed with the John Deere from Middletown tractor.
Well, more efficient, less time consuming in converting from one function to another. I
Yes,
think.
but the way the deck on the John Deere works, it's a drive-over deck, and it actually, when you drive over that thing, it actually hooks up everything, the PTO and the connections, all, you know, you don't even have to get off the tractor. Most all of the buckets on all of them are fairly simple to take off. They're, you know, you pull a couple pins, have a level surface to put the bucket down on, and they all come off fairly easily. But I think the John Deere is more attachment friendly than the others that we looked at. That being said, I think that's, if we need to put the snow blade on or the bucket on, or you know, taking on and off the belly mower, it's going to save us time, you know, and labor cost as far as changing from one attachment to another.
Servicing, what's your thoughts on servicing of the equipment?
Well, the only problem is we don't have a John Deere dealer in Buchanan. You know, I think as far as just regular maintenance, as far as the engine oil and hydraulic oils and things like that, we can take care of that ourselves in-house. If it's something other than that, you know, we're going to have to trailer the thing and take it to, probably, if we purchase the John Deere, take it to Middletown Tractor. Buddy, you might know, does LT still do work on the John Deere equipment?
They still work on my John Deere equipment. I bought it off of them. I don't know where they stand on the new ones. I don't think they can do warranty work on the new ones because they're not a John Deere dealer. Is there any difference on the warranty on these tractors? I know John Deere has a pretty good warranty on their own.
John Deere has a 3-year warranty, but it's a limited warranty, and from what I understand, the first 12 months is bumper to bumper. The last 12 months of that 3-year contract is basically your powertrain, you know, your engine, your transmission, your rear end. I don't know what falls on that second year, but it just keeps, and I think most all of these tractors fall under that same warranty.
They all have a 3-year warranty?
They're all just about the same, yes. I think it's 3,000, or 3 years or 2,000 hours is the way that John Deere set up.
It's not going to take you long to get 2,000 hours on as much as you got to mow.
No.
Okay, so the quote on the John Deere is with the tractor, the front end loader, is that a 62-inch mower?
62-inch belly mower.
And then basically a bucket, a blade to go on the front to push snow. Is that basically the other? Okay, so we're looking at $24,182.17. And after careful deliberation and checking and comparing, then you're recommending the John Deere?
Yes.
Any other questions from anybody? We ready for a vote?
Can I ask you a question?
Go right ahead, sir.
What about the John Deere place down at Flatwoods?
Never talked to them. The reason I went to Middletown Tractors was because it was, we're looking at 45 minutes to Fairmont and then an hour to Flatwoods. That's the only reason I didn't compare prices there. But we'd like to keep our business here in Buchanan, we're close by, but sometimes you have to do
Well,
the
you know,
best.
it's not, you're not the same distance from Buchanan, really. I didn't know why.
Well, that was the reason I didn't go, and I never really asked the commissioners or Willie or anybody else about that. I just went to one John Deere dealer, and like I said, that was the reasoning for, that was my reasoning.
I don't know if you close to competition down there or not. I have no idea. Wondering why. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the recommendation of Mr. Harris.
I'd like for him to get a bid
I'm going to say what we could,
at Flatwoods, just to see it could be $500 or $1,000 cheaper. I don't think there's any doubt that we won't move to make the John Deere if that's what you want. But I would just like to have a bid from Flatwoods, just see if they're competitive.
and I would support that.
Is there, there wouldn't be any reason that if you bought it from Flatwoods, you could still have a service at Fairmont. Is that correct?
Wherever you buy it, you can have a service. The only problem is sometimes if you buy it at Flatwoods, you want to service Fairmont, they go, you bought it at Flatwoods, we can get it to you 2 weeks from now. I mean, they have to service it, they're a John Deere
Yeah,
dealer.
but
I would recommend if Mr. Harris could to call today, bring that back later on the meeting so that price is not, it's already
skewed by
public.
time.
Skewed by time.
Yeah, well, and that's right. So if you would do that as soon as possible and come back, then we'll take a look at that and then,
Can make a decision later today.
right. Like I say, the only other thing would be if it's going to be, well, we'll see what the price is. But if it's going to be an issue, if you buy from Flatwoods and you take it to Fairmont and it's going to be 2 weeks to fix it instead of 2 days, I think that's a consideration. But let's see what the price is first, and then we'll make a determination.
Well, we could-
I think wherever you buy it, you get better consideration than if you buy it from someplace else and then try to get somebody else to
Well,
service it.
that just,
Thank you, Greg.
that just stands
Thanks,
to
Greg.
reason in most cases. Okay, well, we'll wait to hear from you here shortly then, as soon as you get some figures, Greg.
If I can get anything today, I'll be back.
All right, we'll be right
They'll
here.
be able to get me something, but
Thank you.
we'll let you know.
Okay, thanks a lot.
See you in 30 minutes.
He's being an optimist, but. Okay, first item to consider possible action is consider letter of support for Buchanan River Watershed Association Smooth Rock Lick Acid Remediation Project. And according to the letter from Paul Richter, this is a project basically where they put limestone and the water runs down over it and it takes the acid out and the other harmful chemicals such as aluminum, iron, manganese out of it. And my understanding of this that it was working good. There's more water running over it, which necessitates some more work to be done on it. So basically all they're asking the commission is a letter of support for their grant application. So, and it basically is going to help provide cleaner water to the Buchanan River. So I think it's a good project.
I'll move to support that.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is approval of contract with Reliable Builders for repairs to the Upshur County WVU Extension Office for $19,400. Well, you might run us down the timeline on this project.
Been, I think, almost approaching a year now of getting this accomplished, dealing with the insurance from the driver and then through the West Virginia County's risk pool and the quotes, because we had a great variance in the first couple of quotes, one of over $30,000 and one of $6,000. And so at that point, Mr. Harris and I and the commission also both felt that it was to investigate a little bit more in detail, get a local vendor to visit the site and do a cost analysis. The 6,000 quote was from an outfit out of Kentucky that did a quote based on the pictures and hadn't visited the site. So after that, you know, that took a number of months, and then the weather set in, and we were able to finalize this recently. And based on signing a release, the other insurance company will be issuing a check for this amount, so it's be fully paid for by the other carrier. And it's just a matter of requiring the commission's approval at this point to authorize the work to proceed.
That was the damage as a result of a vehicle striking the structure, as I recall.
That's correct. As I understand the accident, there was an individual that could not get stopped, whatever, so the vehicle stopped in front of them, turned into the driveway of the extension office, and ran into the building, the stone front of the building.
There was some time delay because of trying to match the stone.
That has been one of the holdups on the materials.
Okay, with that being said, do we have a motion to approve this contract?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Next item, consider appointment of representative to the Upshur County Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors for a term ending May 2016. And Mr. Parker has graciously been serving on that board on behalf of the Upshur County Commission. And all I've heard is raves about his expertise and his value that he's brought to that board. So it would be my recommendation that we send him back again until 2016.
I would make that motion, but I'd also like to ensure that in the event Mr. Parker cannot attend, that our assistant administrator, Megan Pomeroy, take that responsibility as well.
And I think she's attended a few already. So.
Okay, I understand.
She's been
And I
doing
concur
that.
with that.
Okay, was that concurrence in a second?
That is a second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, next item is employment of personnel. We have Richard Frederick Dilly, seasonal groundskeeping at $8 per hour, starting March the 31st, 2013, and that's extra part-time help to mow these areas that we just talked about. So do we have a motion to approve this individual?
That employment would begin approximately when, Willie?
March the 31st.
March 31st. Okay, March 31st to go through Labor Day thereabouts, a little bit past.
Yeah, the reason, one of the reasons for this hire is by the new guidelines that are in place for the Affordable Care Act. There's a certain number of hours that individuals can't work, and this extends for more than a 120-day time period also. So there's those factors involved. And we have a gentleman that worked with us last year that'll be working also in conjunction with this gentleman. And basically, one will be working 3 days a week, one 2 days a week, and then they'll flip the next week. So for the duration of the season, they'll each be working an average of 40 hours in a 2-week time period.
Would it be fair to say, and I use this as an opportunity because it's pressing and present in terms of this hiring, that the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, has, I don't want to use the word complicated, that would be too strong a word, but has it required more diligence or more administrative oversight into hiring and limitations and hourly limitations of people that we can hire on a part-time basis or even full-time basis for that matter?
It has, and complicated is not too strong of a word at all.
It is often, many times, we in government, and I say we in government because we are we hire the representatives of the people county level.
But in an effort to control the cost as it relates to seasonal or part-time positions, that we have to be cognizant of the hours, not only the hours per week, but the number of days during the time period. For example, at the last, maybe a park board meeting, I'm not sure, but one of the meetings in which we were discussing the park personnel, we have to be cognizant of the 120-day limit as it relates to our director and assistant director. The Upshur County Youth Camp will have to be cognizant of those time limits for their part-time personnel. Otherwise, it can substantially affect your cost factor.
So-
Maybe 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours a week or a few days at the end or beginning can mean thousands of dollars.
I won't expect an answer from you. I don't expect this is more of a rhetorical question. But would it have been better for people to read the bill before they pass the bill?
That would always be better, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So do we have a motion to hire Mr. Dilly?
Is that someone that Greg has
That's
talked
Greg's
to?
recommendation.
Yeah,
Is that Greg's recommendation?
Yeah, Greg and Ms. Pomeroy has completed the interviews for this position as well as another position that the recommendation's not ready to come forward. But yeah, the interviews have been completed, the background checks have been taken care of, and it's Mr. Harris's recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next employment item is Deborah K. Carlisle, which is Administrative Assistant Extension Office, $8 per hour, starting April the 8th, 2013, and that's the individual that will replace the lady that just retired from the Extension Office. And so this is the recommended individual for that position.
This is a full-time position, just
Right.
as the other one was.
Full-time benefited position. We have a motion to approve Deborah K. Carlisle.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is wage and/or salary adjustments. And the first is Michael Wayne Campbell with the recommendation of March 24th, 2013, increase from $11.58 to $12.88, which would be $2,704 annual basis. The second step would be on June the 16th, 2013, to increase the proposed 2% or 600 minimum, which we're proposing for all employees, which would be bring him to $13.16. Then on September the 22nd, 2013, increase from the July 5th check rate of $14.46 or $27.04 annual basis based on successful job performance, maintain license HVAC and electrical. And Mr. Campbell started out at a lower rate of pay, but has since then acquired his journeyman's electrician license and had his HVAC license. And in speaking with Mr. Harris, what that enables the county to do is on many occasions, instead of hiring contractors to do electrical work and a lot of the HVAC work, we're able to do it in-house. And I think the average electrical contractor is probably $70 to $80 an hour, and HVAC is probably $150 an hour. So there's a potential for several thousands of dollars savings by being able to do this in-house, and it's equally critical that they be licensed and legal to do so for liability purposes. And I'm sure there's other counties, certainly not Upshur, that would do electrical work with unlicensed personnel and put themselves in a position of great liability. So I think we're very fortunate to have 2 certified electricians and 1 HVAC certified individual in the county. I think that brings our staff up to a very high level of competency.
Just
So,
as a
go
note,
ahead.
Commissioner Tenney, what you're reading is another option that was prepared for the commission and based on what was from on the agenda. So just clarity for the press that's here, which I've given them copies of this. So it was another option that's presented to the commission.
Right, but what it does, it accomplishes the goal of increasing this individual to the total final rate of $14.18 per hour, only doing it in 2 stages. Half of it, I believe, half or approximately half soon, and the second half then
September.
to be done, and with the evaluation process to ensure that these goals are met. So I would ask for a motion that we approve that 2-step process there in that increase in wages.
I will make that motion.
Do we have a second? I'll second that motion. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Did I hear an aye?
No, you didn't.
Aye. Aye.
An aye and an aye, and is it opposed?
I'm opposed to it. And the reason I'm opposed to it is we've got almost 100 employees here in the county. I do think Mike Campbell is a great employee. I do think he needs to be bumped up. I just have a problem when you got people here making $8 an hour, giving them a 2% raise, or a little better than 2%, because we give $600. And all of a sudden, and I do think Mike Campbell needs to be raised. He does an outstanding job for the county. He saves the county several $1,000s. But when you've got employees here that gives 110% in all the offices here, I have a problem bumping him to this amount when other people gets as little as $600.
Well, I think part of the reasoning I would support this and have supported it is that when Mr. Campbell was hired, another individual was hired who was provided the $14.18 an hour because of his certification. There was a disparity, not a legitimate disparity when he was hired, but once he received certification, he now is equal to the other individual that we have on the payroll, and I think it would be inconsistent to keep someone at a lower rate who is performing, in essence, the same job for the same department. And that's the reason I support this position. You have 2 individuals working in the maintenance department performing the same function, both effectively and efficiently, both saving the taxpayer in the county thousands of dollars a year through their certifications, which Mr. Campbell did on his time, not on the county time. And I think that's an admirable thing. We should reward that type of effort for our employees to improve themselves and to offer our county a professional service. So that is why I support the, notwithstanding the fact that many.
Well, how about the average employees that's been working here for 3 years, that's learned what to do in the offices, that gives 100% every
Correct.
single day?
Correct.
And we don't reward them anything except 2%.
Okay, thank you for that comment, gentlemen. Next item is, and I'll read the agenda item first, is Megan Jane Pomeroy, Assistant County Administrator, increase from $32,500 to $37,500, effective March the 31st. In align with what we've approved for Mr. Campbell, what we've looked at for Megan, and I might say that we actually talked about starting Megan at 35, and then we decided to start her at 32.5 and then look at bumping her up. So that's something we talked about at the point of hire. What the proposal is on March 29, 2013, to increase from 32.5 to 35, which would be a $2,500 increase. And then, of course, on June 23rd, there would be the 2% or $700. along with everyone else. And then on September 29th, increased from the 35.7 to 38.2, which would be the second $2,500 bump. And that, along with Mike, would be based on successful job performance of coordinating local jail consortium meetings, addressing and mapping assignment address update process so she can learn the addressing and mapping mechanism and be able to assign addresses, do the things that Terry Jo does. If something would happen to Terry Jo or she's off for a week or whatever, those things have to continue to go on. So it's basically cross-training.
Field work as well.
Right, field work. Part of that would require field work to assign address points to new addresses. Agenda preparation, which would require research documentation for items, which she's been doing the agenda. Also, grant research assistance for record management and preservation, court security, community participation, energy efficiency. Those are things she's been working on, will continue to work on in looking for grant money for the county where we can, I mean, there was a meeting last week on court security of how critical it is to have security in the courthouse for courtrooms and your magistrates and judges to protect them from what has happened in other instances. So those would be the requirement there, what we'd be looking at as concrete guides for that second bump. And I might add, and I would give Mr. Rafferty the kudos
Don't know if they deserve it or not.
for considering and actually pursuing hiring an assistant administrator, because anybody that's been, I know Willie has his critics as well as everyone else, but I think most people, when they realize how important Willie Parker is to the Upshur County Commission and running this big flagship that we call the county, realize how, and all you have to do, and I think you guys have witnessed this, and I think Buddy even made that comment in one meeting, when we go to our statewide meetings, Willie gives input that even the presenters don't know the answers to. So, I mean, we're very fortunate to have Willie Parker as county administrator. And I'm not downgrading any other county administrators, but Willie floats to the top. I know that's hard to believe, but he does float to the top. But what J.C. brought to light, which we've talked about over the years, but never done anything. What happens if something happens to Willie Parker? I mean, not to go over Willie's health problems, but Willie has some health issues, and even apart from that, none of us have any certainty of tomorrow what it's going to bring. So, our concern is what happens when Willie Parker dies or retire. I was going to say retire first, Willie. I'm sorry. But if something happens to Willie,
one and the same.
And at one time, how long were you in the hospital, Willie?
4 months.
4 months. He was in the hospital one time, 4 months for one of his illness. What happens? There are certain things in this county that have to continue operating. There's grants that reports have to be filed. There's things that have to be done on a timely basis, or there's major severe consequences. And so, once again, I'd like to thank J.C. for insisting that we do what we've done as far as hiring an assistant administrator.
Well, I think it's a matter of redundancy. When we have people, citizens coming up who have questions of mapping and addressing or other items, and Terry Jo is in the field, and no one is here to provide that assistance, that's not right. We should be able to provide service to the citizens of this county. So I think it's only good administrative procedure that we have a redundancy of responsibilities among our county commission staff so that we can ensure that when individuals, either through sickness, illness, retirement, or doing their duty, resignation or whatever, are not available, that we have someone who can fill that slot. And at the time of the advertising for the position, we did the interviews and everything, we could have, I think, been justified in offering a larger salary to Megan. But we chose to, I think, do the prudent thing, which was to give her an opportunity to prove herself. And Mr. Parker, some of the manner that you're aware of, he expressed to us the other day in terms of savings to the county, just in the one area that we've asked her to examine and review and conduct meetings with state and regional officials relative to the regional jail authority. She's saved the county how much money through her efforts?
Already approximately $4,000 to $5,000 just in review that, for whatever reason, we weren't catching previously.
Just review of errors.
Just lack of oversight.
Right.
I mean, clearly, it's just lack of oversight, the number of errors that occurred for a 4 or 5 month time period.
Well, and excuse me just a second, I'll interject a thought into that. There are several counties that hire individuals to do just that.
Yes.
To look at the regional jail bill, to work with the magistrates, with the judges, in order to, and even,
Where's that?
pardon?
Any county do that?
Well, Cabell County has one, Logan County,
McDowell.
So there's several that have individuals that they hire just to do that, to help reduce the regional jail bill. And what we're going to start doing, and Megan has already sent letters out, we're going to start meeting with all the players, from the magistrate, circuit judge, community corrections, all the players that have some part in the regional jail bill, and doing everything we can to work with them to try to see wherever the opportunities are to reduce the regional jail bill. And, you know, it's even there's a statewide effort to do that, not just to reduce the regional jail bill, but to help folks, because drugs is the biggest problem, and to help people become rehabilitated so you don't put them in jail. A lot of times you put them in jail, if they were there very long, they come out worse than they went in because of the influence in the jail. So there's a paradigm, what's it called, a paradigm shift, even on the state level, to look at, don't just lock people up, but number one, don't lock them up because you're mad at them. Lock them up because you're afraid of them. But not only that, but to try to rehabilitate them so when they come back out, and you reduce the recidivism rate. So I think that is, I think, a big step for Upshur County, and I think an important part of what we brought Megan on staff to do is to help do everything we can. Now, there's a lot of factors that are out of our control, and we understand that. And just like Cabell County, they've said, they'll point out how many thousands, tens of thousands, or $100,000 they've saved by doing what Megan's going to be doing, but the regional jail bill still goes up. So, you know, the regional jail bill may not go down, but I know we're going to realize savings. It could be much higher, just like home confinement, community corrections. We have considerable savings on those, and there's just so many factors in the regional jail bill that it takes one person that dedicates a lot of their time to that, because it's so multifaceted and so many factors involved in that. And I think that has the potential to the savings of the regional jail bill. Because what did we budget this year?
$720,000.
$720,000 we budget this year for the regional jail. There's the potential. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the potential is very real that the work that Megan does could very well, what we save could pay her salary. The potential's there to do that in the regional jail bill. So, with that being said, if JC, you have anything?
Well,
I
in the
didn't mean to
future,
interrupt you there, but
No. Bringing an assistant administrator on board is the proper thing to do for the long-term interest of the county. By training her, by having the opportunity over the next several years to learn the responsibilities that Willie has, will make a transition much easier, hopefully seamless, and will serve the county in many ways in the future, long after the three of us are no longer commissioners. We try to leave the county better than what we found it when we were appointed or elected. That's
And buddy,
really it.
I would agree with you on the $8 an hour, and that's why I voted against you guys on hiring the person down extension office. And, you know, in today's world, $17,000 a year is, they could go to the parish house, they could go get food stamps, and I agree with that. And I think that's something we have tried to work on. I think that's something we need to continue to work on harder, is to get that bottom end up, and I agree 100% with that. Now, I would say one other thing, and I know that those $8 an hour employees, along with everyone else, can't take that $17,000 a year that we pay for health insurance and spend that to buy a loaf of bread. I understand that. But by the same token, you know, Upshur County is one of the few counties that pays almost 100% of the insurance premiums. Now, you know, we hear Lewis County pays more on the comm center workers. We hear they pay more on this and they pay more on that. Yeah, well, they only pay 80% of the premiums on a single policy, if I'm correct, Mr. Parker. So if it's a family, they pay 80% of the single premium, and you pay 20% of the single plus whatever the addition is on the county. So you have to look at the whole package as far as the benefits, and that's why I think a lot of people will take jobs for $8 an hour, because of the benefits that they receive here. But I agree 100% that we need to work on getting the bottom end up on the lower end of the scale. I agree 100% on that.
Well, just, you know, and you gentlemen are aware of this, Mr. Brady may not be, he wasn't here when we did the interviews, but I think Upshur County is very fortunate to have somebody of Ms. Pomeroy's background, educational experience, other than lacking the passing the bar for West Virginia. She could be an assistant prosecuting attorney. She has a law license, law degree, so we're very fortunate, in my opinion.
Okay, so all that being said, I would ask for a motion that we follow the two-step bump up as was stated earlier.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second. I'll make that second. Now, questions or comments?
Well, my comment is the same. We're lucky to have Megan as an employee for the county. But I think when you've been hired 7 months ago and you go from $32,500 to $35,000 and then get a proposed increase of another $700, and then in September 29th get another $2,500, when the other employees here making $8 an hour, which needs to be brought up, I just can't justify to the other employees of the county of doing this. And I'm not saying that Megan's not a good employee, and she does a great job. I just have a problem when you have 90 other employees saying, we're only going to give you 2%, or if you make little money, we're going to give you $600, which in some cases, that'll give them a 3% raise. A little over 3%, under 4%. I just have a problem of not treating employees the same. Not saying that Megan doesn't do an outstanding job. I know that she does. I know Mike Campbell does an outstanding job. And I know that several employees here that works for the courthouse gives 110% and getting a 2% raise.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
No,
Or
nothing further.
You're out of words. Okay, it's time for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That was a no. Okay. Okay. Next item, and I think final. No, not a final. But notice of public hearing, amendment to enhance 911 ordinance, 11 a.m. on Thursday, April the 4th. Increase from current monthly fee of $265 to $450 residential. Business and Centrex, $650. So that will be at 11 a.m. on April the 4th. Put that on your calendar.
Please note, Mr. President, that Jerry Kimball, who is a regular attendee to our county commission meetings, has been for the last 3 years that I'm aware of, has indicated to me, and I think to Mr. Brady, that he wishes to make sure that we recognize him at that critical meeting.
He's been here enough. I think we all recognize him.
I want to be on the agenda.
Well, you
He is
will
on the
be.
agenda?
You along with anyone else that wants to speak. we'll have your 5 minutes of glory. Okay.
5 minutes.
We may give you 10.
Since you've been
We may
here
give
so
you two-
long.
we may give you one.
We may double your allotted time, Jerry, since you've been such a good, since you've been a good supporter of the county commission, we may give you double. You are on the agenda. If not on paper, certainly in our hearts and minds, you're on our agenda for
I
that
told
day.
you all a good while ago that I would be here. And
We expect,
I will be fine.
we hope you're able to attend, and you certainly will be able to speak. I've said this more than once. That right there is a podium for the citizens of Upshur County, and if you want to come and congratulate us on something you agree with us, you're certainly welcome. If you want to come and disagree with something we're doing, you're certainly welcome. And we get more of the second, we do the first, but we certainly welcome the opportunity for any citizen of Upshur County to come and speak their mind to this commission. And since I've been here almost 17 years, I've stated that and will continue to allow that. Okay, moving right along. Correspondence from the Division of Justice and Community Services, receipt of Juvenile Accountability Block Grant for $15,000 and Victims of Crime Act, $34,175. Are those both prosecuting attorney grants?
Both are mainly the prosecutor. The first one is totally prosecuting attorney grant. The second one, if I remember correctly, also has a component for the City of Buchanan Police Department in there, and then the prosecuting attorney's office.
It deals with domestic violence.
Yes.
Primarily.
The second one deals with domestic violence.
Okay.
That's Laura Queen's for partial payment for
Yeah, the
her salary.
victim's advocate position.
Right.
Okay, and we have Communication Center report, monthly calls, summary, monthly department call summary, monthly record log report. We have agendas, notes, and meetings of the ones that stated, minutes and financial reports as stated. And that seems to be the end of the agenda. Do you gentlemen have anything?
If I might, I've got this big check that's in this camera here, and there may be people at home that understand what that is. Would you like to just tell them what that is up there?
Megan, I believe you helped get that, didn't you? Why don't you explain to them where that came from and what it's going to be used for?
That is a grant that Brian G'day, the circuit clerk, applied for their records preservation. They are copying a lot of their records and putting them on microfilms, and they also are going to purchase a shredder with that money.
Thank you.
Okay, and we thank the state of West Virginia for that.
And we thank Brian and your efforts to secure that
Megan for helping do
grant.
that. Right. Okay, anybody have anything else? Will, you have anything?
Yes, just a couple items. Just as you gentlemen may or be aware of or may not, there was a recent ethics ruling as it relates to the stack of invoices that you'll be approving later, where at one point they were wanting a listing of those invoices on the agenda, as in every vendor, every invoice, and every amount that to be paid. As you can see, that would have increased the size of our agenda substantially.
Killed a bunch of forests.
So they revisited that, held that in abeyance but they did issue a recent ruling, and you're required to have a listing of invoices. The invoices themselves are a listing of invoices available. In our case, it would be on Tuesday, and when the agenda is available for the public to review if they so desire of what invoices you would be considering for payment. So just to make that note and in the record and notify the public that we will strive to comply with that.
But they've always been available for public scrutiny.
Yes, they have, invoices are public record. Is just
Correct.
Many times this required changing our process a little bit because depending on what the bills were, we may add some on Wednesday or Thursday morning, and now we no longer can do that. If something came in and that we needed paid, we would have it available at the meeting for people to see and for the commission to approve. But now they must be available, in our case, on Tuesday beforehand, so we cannot be adding then invoices, which will require some time, maybe some departments to plan ahead a little bit more than in the past. They could walk in at the last minute, and I need a check.
Well, one of the unintended consequences is that Commissioner Brady, as the official stamper of the invoices, probably has a higher risk of getting carpal tunnel syndrome. And he's talked about becoming ambidextrous in order to not put as much friction on his wrist, on his right hand.
With that being said, do you have anything else, Mr. Parker?
No, we do have budget meetings this afternoon. The Airport Authority will be coming at 3 o'clock, just as an addition for that. So,
Well, we will start on the paperwork.
and we have plenty.